welcome to another episode of Zero Management Gamer. This is Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. So this is the fourth, titled third, video in my random ranting while retro gaming video series. And the title of this one, normally I do a little bit of a play on words. This one's not going to be completely obvious right out the get-go, because I knew I wanted to play Zelda, because my brother, older brother gamer, mentioned that he saw in my intro that I was going to be playing Zelda. He saw me pick up a Zelda game. He's like, well, I thought you were going to be playing Zelda. And, well, I guess the intro was misleading, so it's going to be different games every time. In this situation, we are playing some Zelda. And this is my favorite Zelda game. I have the original Zelda, I have The Adventure of Link, this one, Link to the Past, I have Link's Awakening, Zelda 64, The Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, I have the Wind Waker, I have the Twilight Princess, and Breath of the Wild, but I always come back to this one. This is the one that I play the most, thoroughly enjoy it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Why are we doing this video today? What is this mystical link to the past? Well, I'm going to get into it. Well, basically, the idea came to me while I was working last Saturday, or maybe it was the Saturday before last. One of my managers turned and looked at me and he said, "Bill, I believe this is killing me," as a smile slid away from his face. No, that's not what he said. My name's not Bill. But he said something similar to that. Basically, what he was saying was he didn't feel that he was always cut out to be a restaurant manager. That, you know, just when he thought he had a handle on it, there was another thing that piled up on him, another weight on his chest. And I was thinking to myself, this is probably one of the better managers I've ever worked with. And I've worked with quite a few managers. I've worked under managers, I've worked with managers, and I'd say he's probably one of my strongest managers on my team. And I went into detail. I thought he was good at the job, and I tried to reassure him, but you know, sometimes you just have to actually, you know, have a couple more shifts to, you know, get back in the swing of it. There's no real fix. But, you know, it got me thinking that song, Piano Man, actually ran through my head as he was talking to me. And the implications of Piano Man, I think a lot of people, you know, if you go back and listen to it from a restaurant or food service or bartender's point of view, or even in that situation, you know, the entertainment at a restaurant. But, you know, a lot of places, piano bars, have house bands or whatnot that, you know, play music and entertain the guests while they're there. So there's a lot of implications behind that. But what I wanted to discuss is, you know, what it takes to be in a restaurant. And the link to the past is two things. One, the video I did a couple of weeks ago where I talk about why people should work in a restaurant. And I listed several reasons, one of which was it's a job that you can do with little to no education, and you could be good at it. And that's true, and it remains true, but you can't be great in a restaurant unless you have what it takes. And there are several things that make up what it takes, and that's kind of what this video is about. The other link to the past was, I went to a concert a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, so I guess at this point it's almost a couple of months ago, with a buddy of mine, and we went to see Pat E, which I had never seen. He was a huge fan, and couldn't find anyone to go with me, so I offered to go. And I'm really glad I did. It was a real treat. But during one of the breaks, their keyboardist, piano player, he stayed on stage while the rest went back, I guess, to gather their thoughts or have a beer or whatever. Here's Hermes. I'm not sure if I've introduced Hermes to y'all before or not, but he's going to be joining me today and stomping around with stompy feet. that's what he does. You sit down. Anyway, the keyboardist stayed up front, and I think he played, you know, one or two of his own songs, and then he played Piano Man. And that's always a crowd pleaser at a concert with, you know, a small venue concert like the one we were at, because you can get the crowd into it. It gives, you know, the singers a break because they let the crowd sing instead. And you know, we all did, and we sang along. And you know, I was wondering how many people there were restaurant people, and there were people there who were working as restaurant individuals. The venue was Capital L House in, you know, Richmond, and Hermes is making it difficult. He's used to me having a wireless controller, and this one's got a cable, so he's trying to get comfort. You good boy. Anyway, I was thinking about the people who work there, you know, handing out drinks, and you know, it's half restaurant, half like music hall venue. So, you know, we're all singing along, and I'm thinking about the restaurant implications. And the song had been stuck in my head. When my manager, you know, told me he was feeling down or he was struggling at the time, the song sprang in my head. So that's why we're at. That's how I came with the video. At that point, I knew I wanted to do this video because I, you know, we're ADD, ADHD in the restaurant business, a lot of us, and so basically I have a running soundtrack running in the back of my head. I'll be trying to have a conversation with somebody, and you know, the song's playing, and sometimes I can't keep my train of thought going, singing along, even when I'm recording these videos and talking to y'all, doing the same thing, like losing my train of thought. I've gotten to the point where I put talking points here so I don't forget and lose my train of thought. So, basically, you know, the link to my past with this friend and, you know, restaurant and the past video, those are the links to the past. Can't get in there. So, moving on. What does it take to be a good restaurant person, a great restaurant person, even, you know, work in the restaurant and be able to, you know, make a living at it? Because, you know, restaurants can be a starting point for your life, or they can be a career. You have to have what it takes to make it a career. So, the first thing, as a manager, that I look for in an employee is a good sense of urgency. Because you've got to be able to move fast. You've got to be able to move with the quickness. So, we used to joke, the other managers, they set up the interviews with me, and I'd meet the potential employee at the host podium, and then I would walk to the farthest dining room, tell them to follow me, and walk to the farthest dining room at my standard pace. And my standard pace is fairly quick. I'm not tall, but I am long of leg for a short guy, so I move fairly quick when I walk. And if that person could keep up with me, that would show they had a good sense of urgency. You gotta be able to move quickly. You can't get tired. You gotta be nimble on your feet. Those people who slug around a restaurant, you're not going to be able to get where you need to be and effective if you can't get to those places with a quickness. So, sense of urgency. Gotta have that. But again, that's, you know, that's something you kind of have. You can develop it over time. It can be developed. But sometimes people either have it or they don't. You know, it's a skill that can be honed. Maybe you have it or you don't, but some people have it in better amounts or bigger amounts and can actually grow the skill. I don't know. Sense of urgency, very important to make it in the restaurant business. You gotta be able to do it. The next thing is you have to be fit. The video before this one was super punch out annoying guests. And yeah, we'll get more into that, but some of those guests can be verbally abusive. Other co-workers can be verbally abusive. It is a stressful job working in a restaurant. Sometimes stress comes out of your mouth and it's directed at the other employee because you're trying to not direct it at the guest. or the guests are having a bad day and they're, not necessarily treating you with the common decency that most people deserve. I think everybody deserves to be treated with common decency. That's why it's common. Common decency. We all get it, right? So, you gotta have a sense of urgency, you gotta be able to move fast, and you gotta have some emotional armor. You gotta be thick-skinned. Along with being thick-skinned is having some restraint. So, got a little story here. I put this one together, especially for this video. I thought about this one long and hard. Because we have a group of regular guests, and I have nicknamed them the Four Musketeers. It's Athos, Porthos, and Aramis. And the one that really gets our goat, because anybody watching this video that works at my current restaurant, as I talk about them, will know who I'm talking about. Athos, Porthos, Aramis, and then the leader is D'Artagnan. Now, they don't know that I call him that because I don't always reveal my illusions to other people, but I am to y'all now. D'Artagnan is a rat-faced little kid. They're probably freshmen or sophomore in high school. Not 100% sure because as I get older, everybody starts to look 12. But the rat-faced little kid with a mop of towhead-colored hair, and he just looks mean-spirited. So for the most part, the rest of these four, they pay their bill, they order their food and whatnot, and they get their drinks. But this little craphead, he always gets a water cup and then proceeds to get drinks. And he knows we know. And we sat there and watched the drink station to stop him and make allusions to, hey, how's that water tasting? And he just makes this face. Like, he just doesn't give two craps about anyone or what they think. And I hope that one day he looks back at himself in high school and realizes he was a crap of a person and that he has personal growth. Or maybe he works in a restaurant one day and he has to deal with people just like himself. That's the ultimate heaven. I know I wasn't always the best kid growing up, so I definitely paid my dues with dealing with people. But anyway, D'Artagnan, as I call him, I kind of want to kick them out of the restaurant. I want to go and yell at them. I want to tell them exactly what I think of them. We all do. We all look at these kids that way. But they're regular guests. They come in probably once a week, once every 2 weeks, and they order and they pay, and it's 4 more pizzas. And I'm sure they got families that come too, and they tell them about their experience. So I don't want to put us in a situation where we lose guests, as sales growth is important. So just trying to keep the kid in line. But after they left, they were like, shh, got through that, the restraint, the personal restraint, the fortitude to deal with these crapheads. Well, I come to find out that one of them, and I'm pretty sure it was him, poured their water into the red pepper sheet, all the way full, and put it back on the shelf. So it filled the dry pepper and it expanded into a mass. So all that had to be dumped out. I mean, just for cross-contamination reasons, but also for, the fact that that product was no longer quality, we can't serve it. Next time I see that kid, I don't know if I'll have the personal restraint to deal with it. Again, it gnaws at your soul. And if you're a restaurant person, I did make this channel for people who are in the restaurant industry and people who like to play video games, but if you're not a restaurant person and have never dealt with that type of stuff, well, hopefully you can better understand why we dislike some of the people that we have to deal with. This Morningstar guy right here killed me on that airport. I'm trying to get cocky and kill him with a spinning sword, and that didn't work. I gotcha. That's Master Key. There's Princess Zelda. Alright. So, to come back to the Piano Man song, there's a couple of different allusions to restaurants in there. One of them is the waitress practicing politics. And the other thing that I think about when I think about that, is when the bartender, John, at the bar, he's a friend of mine, he gets me my drinks for free. And he's quick with a joke or to light a smoke if there's some place that he'd rather be. So, in the earlier line, it says the smile slid away from his face. And the waitress practicing politics, these are kind of one and the same. When it says the waitress is practicing politics, it's referring to the fact that she's keeping that friendly smile on while dealing with the businessmen who are slowly getting stoned or heavily intoxicated. And, she's got her social mask on. And a good example of the social mask and, how it's so important to be capable of wearing a social mask when you're in the restaurant business is, again, when dealing with the Four Musketeers. We still have to treat them with dignity and respect of their guests, to a certain degree. Sometimes, I think about Hooters waitresses and, them having to deal with lecherous men, and yeah, it's part of the job, and I've eaten at Hooters before, and me and my wife used to go to Hooters and get pictures, and I always thought that we were pretty decent guests, but, sometimes you see some real crackheads in there, and these girls are wearing next to nothing, and still having to smile and have to deal with the fact that these guys are oogling them, and they have a wonderful social mask. They're flirting, they're smiling, they're putting on this, hey, you're nice and I like you and you're cute and I'm going to get you food and, to give good service and earn a good tip from these men, they have to keep up this persona. I wonder how quickly the smile slides away from their face when they walk through the galley doors into the kitchen. A lot of times I'll be dealing with a guest and I'm smiling and joking and laughing with them, and some of their jokes aren't funny, or the stuff they're talking about is, political or whatever, and I'm not really interested in talking about it. And then I have to go back to the kitchen and I'm wearing that big grin all the way back, and then I pass that threshold and it's just gone. It's like, hey, how you doing? You're great. You're a wonderful guest, and I love you. And thanks for coming in today and ordering the food that you always order. And I'm not saying that it's not genuine. Sometimes it is. I do have guests that come in regularly, and I'm happy to see them, and I look forward to their visits. And me and Zelda are running around in circles because losing my train of thought. This is a chapter, folks.
Say, Hermes, he's a good boy. He's a good boy.
Okay. So, when all these things, the social mask and the restraint and the thick skin and the sense of urgency and the guests running you all over the place, when these things are, wearing you down, do you have the stamina to handle it? That's another thing that you're required to have. Stamina. So, don't be confused. Stamina is important, and your ability to maintain that stamina. What's your constitution like? Do you have an 18 on your character sheet for your constitution, or you're rolling around with just a 9? Are you going to fall ill if you work for like 4 hours on your feet? Do you get tired? I'm not saying we don't need to rest. So when I say don't get confused about stamina, one of the things I'm referring to is I'm in a Facebook group, Fellowship of the Lion Cook. You don't see this video, you have to belong to that. Shout out to y'all. Because I do still, every so often, have a line cook mentality, even though I'm a manager now. Can't help it. I was a line cook for a long time, and I am an active manager, which means I don't just sit in the office doing paperwork and emails. I'm there on the front lines, waiting on guests, cooking for guests, preparing for guests. People sometimes confuse having good stamina being able to handle it, and falling in love with a crappy system and overdoing it. So, you know, a lot of people will post their paychecks or their hourly stubs and how many hours they work, and, you know, just because you work a 76-hour shift doesn't mean you should. Bragging about working a 36-hour shift. Well, 36-hour shift. I worked a 36-hour shift for Thanksgiving 2 years in a row with my previous concepts, and it was hell. And, you know, when I tell people about it, I don't tell them about it because I'm bragging, as grill cooks are wanting to do, or line cooks are wanting to do, about how they can, you know, work 80 hours a week and how hardworking they are. And yeah, it's cool, you're hardworking, and we appreciate that, and I appreciate the stamina, but don't overdo it, don't kill yourself. No restaurant's worth that. But having good stamina is important. You have to be able to balance your physical well-being, mental well-being, and be able to make it through that shift. So, stamina, very important. And when your stamina runs down, when you start getting tired, do you have a good support system at home? Or, I mean, what are you doing to handle that? How do you unwind? So for me, it's this channel right now. It's recording these, you know, essays, these rants, these thought processes that run through my head all the time because I can't sleep unless I get this stuff out. You know, I'm a constant thinker. My brain won't shut off. So video games help that. There are less healthy ways that a lot of restaurant people cope with their, you know, their stress, drugs, alcohol. You know, we're getting to that point where, like, marijuana is, you know, legal, but there was a time when it wasn't, and there was a time when I wasn't always handling my stress in the way I should, be it drugs or alcohol. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to cause yourself physical harm by having your support system be that. Read a book. Or maybe it's just spending time with family members. You know, maybe it's going to a movie. Me and Miss Management Gamer, we like to go to the movies. And yeah, my weekends are not Saturday and Sunday, so when we go to a movie theater, there's typically not a lot of people there. It's great. I get to escape from people because, as I've mentioned through the past videos, yeah, I'm a restaurant person, but I'm not really a people person. Dealing with people wears me down, so I like to go out on days when it's slower and there's not a lot of people running around, and me and my wife can relax and have a good time and enjoy a good horror flick. So, what's your support system? What are you doing to make it through every day? How do you survive the rigmarole, the amount of stress that working in a restaurant puts on you? How are you managing it? So make sure you have a good support system. Don't overeat, don't overindulge in drugs. Play some video games, read a book, watch movies, spend time with friends. That leads me to the next point, is the family dynamic. Sometimes a good support system is within the restaurant you are working in. So, does your restaurant have a good family dynamic? So, front of the house and back of the house are notorious for not getting along. Grill cooks and servers, or, you know, line cooks or chefs, or prep cooks, serving assistants, bartenders, whatever, you know. Sometimes there's some static, but ultimately, you know, it's a brother-sister relationship, because if you have a guest in that, you know, does a harm to one of your front of the house people, you'll never see a line cook bristle like they do when they hear that a guest is mistreating one of their own. They get together, they have employee parties. You know, all my buddies at the end of the shift, we would all hang out in my apartment and we'd have a good time and play video games, or play card games, or board games, or watch the same movie over and over and over again. Jay and Silent Bob, I don't know what was it with that flick, but we watched it every day for a summer when I was a grill cook, and we had a good family dynamic. So they can be your support system if you need them. And if you're in a restaurant where you don't have a good support system or a good family dynamic, maybe you need to be in a different restaurant. Maybe it's the wrong place for you. Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's you. Maybe it is you. I don't know. Remember, if you're not comfortable where you're working, make sure you look in the mirror to see if the problem's you before you start pointing the finger at your coworkers, because it may be you. But have a good family dynamic. They can be your good support system. So when your stamina gets low and your social mask falls and you lack the restraint to deal with those little shits and your thick skin has worn and your sense of urgency is waning, so you're just moving slow now. Remember, it can be better. Change your mindset. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're treating others with dignity and respect. Be good with one another. Hey, listen to some good music. Maybe overanalyze some good music. You'll enjoy it. Whatever it takes to make you happy. So that's my rant for the day. A link to the past video, a link to the past in my head, being a grill cook. This game's a link to, my cousin. I mentioned, I think in the last video, that we played a lot of Super Nintendo together, and this was one of the other games. We stayed up all night, playing all the way through. I'm not sure if we ever beat it together, but, find games that give you happy memories, or, find movies that close your songs, so that you can handle the stress of life. Or if you're not a restaurant worker, maybe it's the stress of the office. Maybe it's the people who were calling the tip line and asking you questions. How do you handle it? I think, support yourself. That's all I got for this evening, folks. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope I can come up with continued topics that you'll appreciate, and more gameplay that you'll enjoy. I hope you enjoyed Link to the Past, and if you've never played it, you should. That's a completely different video series. Maybe I'll do one on this game. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, which should be coming up. The rest of your week, and you're good to yourself. Thanks.